What is going on, traders? This is Alex from Boss Crypto. If you guys want access to our exclusive trading academy, we have opened up a limited amount of seats completely free for 30 days. Just head over to bosscrypto.co or click in the link in the description to get access to our free trial today. Enjoy the video. So I'm going to be bringing y'all another top-down analysis on Bitcoin today. I know that's pretty much the majority of our videos the last month or so, but honestly, that's what matters most in the market right now, guys, okay? The direction of Bitcoin is everything. And it doesn't always mean, Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up, but, once Bitcoin goes up enough, I think that happens, right? So altcoins are important. I'll look at maybe Ethereum after Bitcoin too, but, really, Bitcoin's all that matters, let's be honest. Okay, so we're going to start with the monthly, looking at our long-term trend and our long-term support and resistance levels. Right now, resistance-wise, I mean, there's not really much left, right? We've tapped the monthly close from the top, so that's our current resistance. Okay, we've got this resistance at 13,000 from the current monthly candle, right? We've got the resistance from the January monthly candle, which is right around 17,000. So if we do break, which I'm expecting we will, if we do break above 14,000, sometime later this year, I think 17K will be the next stop. That's where, when we broke above like 10, 11K the first time, that's where we just shot to. We shot right from 11K to 17 like it was nothing. So definitely expect an issue right to that if we break 14. And then after that, it's just, it's just 20K, right? Now, once we get down to the daily 4-hour, we'll see there's a couple more short-term resistances, but that's really, that's all there is from a new high, right? And then support-wise, we've got 8,500, right, which is this level right here, okay? Right, the close of this candle, open of this candle, also lines up with a key lower high. The last lower high on the monthly before we broke 6K, right? Just a big tumble fest there. So if we break, and I know it's not that far away, but if we break this short-term low we have intra-monthly, right, which is around 9,000, that's where I'm going to start buying. Now it's only, it's only a little bit cheaper. I'm not personally stopping out of anything if we break 9,000. That's just going to depend on your personal risk management and sizing if you want to do that. But, once we zoom in a little bit, and I'll just do it real briefly here, we can see there's a pretty clear daily pivot here. So if you're really heavy in any positions here, it makes sense to have stops below there. But instead of doing that, I started buying up at like 10,000, and I've been getting bigger and bigger, and I will do so the lower it goes. Okay, I actually got some filled at 91.05, which was like 30 bucks from the bottom here. And that wasn't a market buy. That was just somewhere in here I put all my bids, laddered down, and I was able to fill the bottom there, and that was great. It went from 9,100 up to almost, 11,000. So, but if you got heavy, like I was saying earlier, if you got heavy anywhere in this region, it makes sense to maybe stop there. And then, you can just go ahead and start rebuying right after, but you don't want to be super heavy here and then have it go all the way back to 75 or even 6 and then have no ammo, right? That's just it's a little irresponsible. So, I've been buying Bitcoin since, Tom, our partner, bought in here. I bought in here. And then we've just been, we've been buyers all the way up here. Bought a little bit even up at 11, a little bit at 10. And we're just going to keep buying as long as we're still in a bull market, right? And for me, definition of a bull market is making long-term higher lows and higher highs. And we want to be staying above our long-term trend on the monthly, which is this 8 EMA, right? And we can see in the last bull run, this 8 EMA did a great job as long-term support, right? And sometimes you get a little sometimes you get a little below it. Sometimes you don't always retrace all the way to it, right? We can see that in here. So, like I said, I'm not waiting for this specific point to buy or anything. I've already started buying here. I'll buy some at 88, 85, 8,000, all the way down there because I like to focus on areas of support rather than, specific spots, right? That's just, that's how markets are. I'm not trying to be a hero and call an exact bottom or anything. One more thing I want to point out about the monthly is we are in this up cycle, right, on our slow stochastic, and we've been in that since April. with this big breakout here, which kind of initiated the bull market, right? And so this is our long-term runway. We want to really be core long until this is really extended, and then not just extended, but cross down, and price, on the weekly, on the daily, switches from long-term higher lows and higher highs to lower lows, right? So until that happens, we want to ride this trend as long as we can, and then be a buyer on dips. And I know it might not look like much. I use log a lot, but even 9,000, the current low, is already 33% down from the high. If we compare to last bull market, we often had drawdowns of 30, 40%, right? But generally didn't really go much over that, right? It was 30 to 40%. Sometimes you had something crazy, like here into the 2012 happening, had a huge move up and a big, massive retrace down, which was 50%. So, it's not impossible, right? But I'm just not waiting for something like that to happen. I'm keeping like 10, 15% of my my cash position in case we come down all the way to 6, 7, or even 6,000, which I think would be pretty ridiculous, but it could happen. So I'm keeping some cash just in case. We'll go ahead and go to the weekly here. But really, I'm focused on loading up in this region, right? We can see this is our weekly band support, right? And that did a great job all throughout the last bull market, again, of just being long-term support. Right, and then you get below the bands, right? And you retrace to the 200 and or pi, only the 200 in this case, right? But as long as we're above these bands on the weekly, it's a long-term uptrend. And you can see that goes down to about 65, 6,700. A 30 stop, which is a hold of the 30, would be right around 7,500. And we can see that lines up with our monthly 8 as well. So that's very strong support. That also lines up with a key horizontal pivot right here. All right, check this out, guys. We had a really bearish engulfing candle here. Our slow stochastic was incredibly high. It looked like a good time to retrace back to maybe 6,000 or something. And then we got this candle, and it engulfed the previous one by closing above this open. And that pretty much invalidated this negative price action. So the low of that move is very pivotal now. And it led to new highs as well. So getting that horizontal support with our long-term weekly support and our long-term monthly support, it's very clear that this is good potential for a higher low. And it's so clear that I don't even know if we're going to make it all the way there to 7.5. I think there's a good chance of holding it at 8 or 88. And again, we're only getting to these levels, guys, right? If this resistance here fails to hold, right? And we're still holding it. And, either I just follow the best people on my social media accounts, or everybody wants this dip, because everyone I see talking about Bitcoin right now is talking about, the dip to the 8,500, 7,200 level. Everyone is talking about it. So it's possible we just hold up here and continue higher, which is why I'm still 35% BTC, because if we're going to keep going, I want to be in it. But we do have the weekly down cycle, right? When we go and zoom into the daily, we'll see there are a couple lower highs we need to take out. So, it's not guaranteed until we can break this intermediate term downtrend we're in. But there's also a good chance that we've already made the low. Like I said, this is 33% down from the high. So I want to talk about, what we'll do if we do break. And I told you guys I'm going to buy some more because I have good cost average. And I can afford to buy some more in these levels. And I'm not going to stop out of any of this until I see a key level break on the weekly and the monthly, right? And then on the upside, like I said, let me close this real quick. Like I said, 17,000 and 20,000 are really the only levels as resistance. And then, of course, the current resistance right up here at 13, 14. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go into the daily now. But honestly, guys, very clear uptrend. Buyer on every dip, yada, yada. You know the drill. Okay. Now, we do have kind of a big gap. The way this trading model works, you break the bands, the 60 EMA, and more likely than not, you cycle back to the 200 and or pi, like we saw on the weekly, right? You break down from the bands, cycle back to the 200. Break the bands, cycle back to the 200. That's just statistics. And then pi is all about cycles too. So we will see this on every time frame, right? And it doesn't mean it has to happen, right? You know, it was resistance here. It was the 6K bottom. And you know how long that bottom held for 10 months, right? So pi is key, but check this out too. Pi did not get tested on the daily the entire bull run. So, you know, if you had some extra cash waiting for pi, it literally never got tested until the end. So I'm not saying we have to retest these levels or anything. I just want to point out that's where our long-term moving averages are, right? And they're crossing each other right now, very similar to back here, okay? So that's also our long-term support, right? If I was to go back to the monthly, right, you can see that's right where the 30 is on the monthly, right near the bands on the weekly. Okay, it's all part of the fractal model where we can see all these kind of different things happening on different time frames, but they're all part of the same thing. But hey, I'm getting a little too deep into the model stuff here. But the point of that really is if we break here, while I'm buying kind of like this, okay, and I think there's a really good chance that we make a higher low in front of these levels. Cyclically and statistically based on the model, it goes back to the 200. But that could mean the 200 comes up for a while and then it tests it. It just, you know, it depends. But if we get something, because you know Bitcoin, when things happen, sometimes they happen very quickly. If we get something very quickly down to the 200, I will absolutely be a buyer there. Because, you know, where else is that? Right? It's right at 6,000. Okay, so the point of all this is that we got support here from here. We got support here. We got support here. We got, you know, uptrend line support. We've got EMA support on the daily, on the weekly, on the monthly. We've got all kinds of support beneath us. And we're running out of resistances, right? We're just chopping through them like butter. So going deeper at this point is a gift. We got to remember that. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We want cheaper Bitcoin. Back here, it hurt, right? It felt bad. Now, it's a good thing, okay? So buying here is good for me. I'm happy to be a buyer here. I'm happy to be a buyer here. Okay, I feel like I've said this probably like a dozen times in this video, but really want to hammer that in, okay? I'm buying the dips. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. I'll go to an exchange so we can look at the 4-hour. Oh yeah, here's where my notes were. Perfect. So for anyone that likes notes, right? This was the SR flip that we got going on currently. And if we fail that, like I was talking about, I'll buy from 7,200 to 7,500 and really all throughout the 8,000s as well, okay? So I'm gonna get rid of those real quick, or just the text, because we've already talked about this. Okay, and you can see, look how tight we are getting in here. Okay, this was a really clear daily pivot. The bottom of the dump from the top. Okay, even that was pretty hefty. That was a 30% dump already. And then we broke it with just one candle, right? Just this one candle, closed below it. But that candle got no follow through, right? Because it immediately closed back above that level and got huge follow through the next day. And here we are, retracing to it once again and holding it while everyone's calling for lower. Albeit the volume is not great, right? We need to see some strength getting through this trend line and really, for me, getting back above this pivot, because then you have kind of like a W bottom, right? And then you know, I'm already buying pullbacks, but after that, absolutely will be buying pullbacks. Then I can get really aggressive, okay? So I probably won't remove any of my buys down here until we take out 11,000 with volume, and then I'll start buying some back at these levels, okay? Oh yeah, I wanted to go into the 4-hour as well, okay? Because here, and I'm going to take away my indicators real quick too, just so we can see this a little more clearly. Right, so since the top, okay, we made a series of lower highs, made a higher high here after that higher low that I was just talking about. You know, it was a lower low short term, but still a higher low on the big picture, right? And then we made a higher high right after it. So I wanted to long the pullback. This was the pullback. And like I said, if we stay above that level, I'm feeling really confident that this uptrend could be back in action. Okay, and what I was talking about as well on the daily is we got to get back above this level. All right. Once we get back above that, I'll feel more confident because you see these lower highs? Well, we've done pretty much the same thing here. We might be putting a short-term one in there as well, but right now, this is that key pivot for us, okay? So if we can get back above 11, I'm going to be feeling very confident that the uptrend is back. So, okay, I've literally said the same thing like 10 times, okay? I think we're going to end the video here. I don't think there's really any point to talk about Ethereum, but I will briefly, here's what we'll do. We'll talk about the scenarios I think can be good for Ethereum with Bitcoin, because I think Bitcoin's kind of dictating it all, right? So I'll put my indicators back on, and I'm going to go back to the BLX chart. All right, where did we see Ethereum rally the hardest the last run? Okay, we saw it rally hardest right here when BTC made a new high. And let's go a little deeper, actually. From the Bitcoin halving, actually, we're going to go even one step deeper, okay? From the big breakout from the bear market. Sorry, I know I backtracked a few times there. From the big breakout, I just totally lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, from the big breakout, there were 1, 2, 3, and I guess we have 4 really key places where Ethereum rallied hard, right? Right here, when BTC dropped, and actually I'm going to go to a weekly chart just because there's a little too much candle action here. Right here, when BTC closed below the weekly 8 for the first time since breaking out, all that money flowed into Ethereum, right? If we go from here and see this big bearish candle on Bitcoin and then go to Ethereum Bitcoin, oh, I've already circled it because I was talking about it to my buddies yesterday. We get the opposite. As opposed to current day, right? You know, Bitcoin's going down and correcting, and Bitcoin, instead of going up, it's kind of just going with it, right? So we want to see if Bitcoin breaks 9K, you know what, right, guys? If Bitcoin breaks this short-term low, because check this out, guys. This was the close below the 8 on the weekly. Check how we have not had one of those since the breakout. Does that sound kind of familiar? Albeit, if we look at percent levels from top to bottom, this big breakout pump didn't even go to the 382, whereas this pump that we had, this was absolutely insane. It went all the way to the 618 retrace from the high, which didn't happen until a year later, the last time, during the Bitcoin halving, right? And that's one reason I think this cycle might be a little bit different. Just, you know, instead of rallying, this is the 2012 halving, right? Instead of rallying majorly after the halving, it's possible we just rip to new highs sometime this year and rally into the halving. You know what I mean? Instead of like the slow start and then kick off after the halving, we didn't have a slow start. We didn't even, you know, have a long accumulation, right? This was like a year, whereas this was like 3 months. And then instead of taking 10 months to get back to the high, it took like 3. So, yeah, absolutely crazy there. But, sorry, the point was, right, when Bitcoin broke the 8 here, Ethereum ripped. And then when BTC ripped into halving, a lot of coins went with it. Like if we go look at like Verge and Siacoin and Syscoin, just some coins from the old age, right? They were ripping too. And then, and this is key, from here until all-time high, right? Most altcoins died, right? If we go look at Ethereum in relation to Bitcoin, Bitcoin rallies from 500 to 1200, whereas Ethereum in relation to Bitcoin from here loses 60-70% of its value before Bitcoin hits all-time high. And then, like we talked about, 3 hours ago, I feel like I've been talking forever, Bitcoin and Ethereum rallied together into new all-time highs. So those are the two bullish scenarios for Ethereum. And I think you really want to see Ethereum lift off for altcoins in general to look bullish. Again, there's individual coins that look good right now too. But if we want to get macro rallies in hundreds of different alts, you're probably going to need Ethereum to be bullish, okay? So that either happens at new all-time highs, right, which could be end of the year, sometime in the early next year, who knows? Or it could happen if Bitcoin breaks down and we see that money flow into alts. And you'll have to watch alt BTC pairs like FBTC, EOS BTC, look how terrible it looks, right? But if all these BTC charts that currently look like garbage, if these all turn into springs, the pumps will be insane. I mean, look at FBTC, right? How long did this hold? From November 2017 all the way to July 1st, right? If we spring back above that with Bitcoin dumping, it's going to be absolutely massive, okay? Because like I said, this run-up made so much money, and you need a lot of money to be made on Bitcoin before we're going to see a lot of money made on altcoins. And then you get this cycle of money being made, right? A ton of money gets made on Bitcoin. Then it flows into alts, and big money can make a lot more Bitcoin trading alts. And then when Bitcoin goes up, they have a lot more Bitcoin now, so they make a lot more money trading that. And then they pump altcoins again, and then they buy the dip on Bitcoin, and then they make a ton of money on Bitcoin. And then they pump altcoins and Bitcoin. And then they pump Bitcoin massively, and then altcoins get another. But you see, it's just this constant cycle of money flowing from cash to Bitcoin to alts to Bitcoin to alts to Bitcoin to cash, so on and so forth. And we're just trying to follow. I know I say big money; it's kind of a catch term. We're just trying to follow the larger, the larger money in the market, right? So, little summary, right? Long-term support 7,200 to 8,500. For alts, we want to watch how they react if Bitcoin breaks 9,000. If Bitcoin makes a higher low here and rallies to the highs, I'm expecting alt blood until the high. But after that, I think it's going to be glorious. Okay, so this ended up being kind of a long video, but there was a lot I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to hammer some points home. So I know I said them about 10 times, but hopefully you guys really got the message there. If you have any specific questions, if you just thought I was babbling or something, feel free. Come join us in the chat, right? Free for 30 days, bosscrypto.co. I'll see you guys there. Thanks for joining in.